Alright, what's up guys? So, I'm going to do another one of these walk and talks as I call them. And I just want to talk about my experience this week of carrying a fixed blade. I think you guys saw, or I made a video maybe Monday, I believe it was, on getting this and another knife, the J Knives Fuse, which I also have on me, as I carried both of these all week. I know it's not been a full week, but it's been 4 or 5 days and I've pretty much kind of had all my thoughts on it. Sorry if the lighting in this video kind of sucks. I'm walking and it's virtually nighttime. We'll see how long this lasts. I just want to do quick go over a few points. For me, a fixed blade, maybe this will change in the future. A fixed blade really isn't necessary. I know a lot of guys carry fixed blades and they use them all the time, and some of them only carry fixed blades. They use that as their primary knife. But for me, the fixed blade isn't, I like having it, especially if I'm carrying a nicer knife. Here, let me see if I can put this away one-handed, not stab myself. Okay, all right, there we go. And pull out the fuse. I like having the fixed blade when I'm carrying a nice knife, like this, or even the Oz, or especially like the Spectre, because there's some stuff, you guys know I use pretty much all my knives. I really don't care. The Spectre's a little bit of an exception. I don't love to use that thing for crazy hard stuff just because it's so nice and so expensive. But I like using the fixed blade for stuff that I don't like using a nice knife for. Some people carry like a small knife and a big folding knife. Oh, I just looked down at the screen. Look at that lighting. Oh, okay, continue my thought here. Yeah, so I like using the fixed blade for stuff that I wouldn't want to use my nice knife for. So that works out. And I think I'd still prefer to carry a fixed blade over a small secondary knife, or a small secondary folding knife, just because to me it makes more sense. If I'm going to carry a second knife, I want it to do everything that the first knife can do and more. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so a lot of people might carry something like this, or let's say they carry a full custom like an Oz, and Oz is, I know it's 50-50 on custom medtech, whatever. Okay, sorry, we had a car. So I know an Oz is like 50-50 customer medtech, but let's say you're carrying something like an Oz, something custom, something really nice. I don't want to also carry like a Delica, because realistically speaking, everything the Delica can do, the Oz can do. The Delica can't do like more than the Oz. Whereas, okay, if I'm cutting really big zip ties, I don't want to use this knife for that. I also wouldn't want to use a Delica for that. Maybe some people would, but I want something tough that I know I have no chance of it breaking, or, just something I want something hard use, but I don't want something that's going to weigh me down like a Hinder or something, huge like that. I'm trying to think of another example. A Medford. Ugh, disgusting. You guys will never see a Medford on here, and if you do, come back to this video and tag me. Yeah, regardless, I don't want something huge, but I don't want something that's going to be, in my eyes, pointless to have. Because I use my normal knives like the Oz or the Vector, I feel like carrying a Delica is kind of pointless, or carrying, a Dragonfly, or I don't know what other knives people carry as, small secondary backup deals, but I feel like carrying one of those is pointless. So if I'm going to carry a backup, I think it will be a fixed blade. I'm not going to show you guys, but you saw in the first video, it's got an Artemis sheath. The Bradford I have, it's got an Artemis sheath, and that is fantastic to carry. I've been carrying it all week. I think I've only taken it off one time, and it's because I've been getting, on the ground, rolling around, doing a bunch of stuff recently. And if you're on the ground rolling around, it's not super comfortable to carry, for a long time, if you're doing it for a while. But if you're doing it here and there, it's not that bad. I mean, today I got on the ground probably 10-15 times, and I never take this thing off the whole day. It's perfectly fine. I personally carry my fixed blade appendix like across the front, only because I carry my gun at 6, so it just works for me. If I carried my gun appendix, which I'm too large of a man to do comfortably, but if I carried my gun appendix, I guess I'd probably just swap it and carry the knife on the back. If you guys carry a fixed blade, put down in the comments where you carry it, and then also what do you guys use it for, and do you carry it as like a primary or secondary? I'd be interested to see what everybody's thoughts are on fixed blades and carrying. But regardless, yeah, so that's where I carry mine. But yeah, it's pretty comfortable most of the time. I want to say Aramis, like Aramis scales, but the Artemis sheath, I think for the Bradford and many other knives that have like a standard factory leather sheath, it's worth the $50, whatever it costs, give or take. If you're thinking about carrying a fixed blade and the knife you have has kind of a mediocre sheath, definitely recommend getting an Artemis sheath. There's other good sheaths out on Etsy, wherever else. You know, I've had a sheath off Etsy for my SE3, and it was really good too. But the Artemis sheaths, for whatever reason, I just like a lot more. And I mean, most of the time they look cool. You know, he does his little A on there, and it's cool looking sheath. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to talk about. To me, there's no real downsides to carrying the fixed blade. I mean, for my body type, it's not uncomfortable. But I remember Ben from the Blade HQ knife banter videos. He said, you know, this is 8 years ago, but he said sometimes it can get a little, for him, because he's so, I guess he said like a bony, skinny sucker. I remember watching that. And he said for him, it can be a little uncomfortable to carry a fixed blade. For me, it's not that bad. I feel fine. But I can see if you don't carry it in the right spot, or if you're a bony, skinny sucker, it could be uncomfortable, depending on where you're carrying it. Oh, another thing I also wanted to ask, if you guys get this far, does anybody here carry a fixed blade in their pocket? I tried, I don't remember which knife it was. It was one of the SE knives I had. Carry it in the pocket. I don't know how people do that. I hated it. You know, maybe if you're one of the guys that only carries a fixed blade, you know, the fixed blade in pocket works. But I hated carrying my fixed blade in my pocket. It was always weird to me. I tried my normal front right knife pocket, tried my back pocket. I didn't really care for any of them. I also, let me switch back to the SE, not SE, Bradford. This is the perfect size for me for an EDC fixed blade if I'm going to carry one. I haven't done a video on it, and I should have. I never actually did a review on it, and I've already sold it. I actually sold it earlier, but my buddy Zach, ZJL Knives, I'm sure I'll have another one of his knives in the future, but his knives are also a really good size. This 3.25 inch blade is the perfect size for a fixed blade for me. Let me stop here. The ergos on this are great as well, because you can get your finger here and everything else in this back area. This works really well for just kind of all cuts. Trying to think what I've used this a few times this week. Basically just kind of what I said in the beginning of the video, just cutting stuff that I didn't want to cut with my normal knife. I cut some cardboard with this, which isn't something I would have a problem with using my normal knife for, but it's one of those things, kind of like when you first start carrying a knife in general. Well, I hope this hasn't been out of focus the whole time. I guess it's kind of hard to focus on this. Let me switch back to the fuse. It's kind of hard to carry, or sorry, I'm bad with memory. Basically, when you start carrying a fixed blade, you will find a reason to use it. So, kind of like when you start carrying a knife, you find a reason to use knives, like cutting open chip bags and stuff. So, I cut cardboard with it because I had a fixed blade. You know, why would I, you know, get this edge, which, you know, we're never going to focus because iPhone, right? But why would I use this and mar up this blade when I have the fixed blade? That's kind of what it's for. So I used that a few times. Cutting open stuff where, like, there might be metal inside, like cutting open packages of nuts and bolts or whatever, something that there might be something to mess up the blade finish. I used a fixed blade for a few times. That works. Trying to think. I think that was only two things. Just kind of cutting open stuff that had metal in it and just cutting cardboard. But you know, I feel like that's kind of what a fixed blade's for if you're going to carry a secondary knife, like I talked about, you know, stuff that you don't want to cut with this. Yeah, so it's getting kind of dark. I'm sure the video quality now is questionable at best. So we're gonna wrap this up. It's been, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes by now. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I don't know if there'll be any videos out next week because I'm going to Vegas for SEMA. So maybe I'll record a couple shorts here and there and post them on here. I'm probably only gonna bring the Oz because I know out there they have like 3-inch limits on knife laws, and that's the Oz is. But yeah, I don't know if there'll be any videos next week. Might have a little hiatus. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.